Hello, this is Professor Angelia with Works of Hearts, Child Development and Psychology class, Part 14. And last time we left on trends in prevalence of various drugs for 8th graders, 10th graders, and high school seniors. So today we're starting in trends in development. High school completion rates. And I'm going to have to pause because someone's being rude and ringing my phone. Okay, I'm back. High school completion rates. Have states and the District of Columbia increased the percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds who have a high school credential? And we're going to be talking about states and the changes. 10%. So, actually, no, 10 states. Bleh, one of them days. Got better about that. 37 states had no change, and 4 states got worse. I live in the state of Kentucky, and I believe we were second to the bottom down there of Mississippi. Datagraphics college attendance. The U.S. Center for Educational Statistics. We're going to talk about years, then we're going to talk about male, female, white, or African American. In the year 96, 55.3% of African Americans went on to college. 65.8% of white people went on to college. 69.7% of females went on to college. And 60.1% of males went on to college. In 1990, 46.3% of African Americans went on to college. 61.5% of whites went on to college. 62% of females went on to college. And 57.8% of males went on to college. So that's a decline. And then in the year actually, that's an increase because we're going backwards. That's my brain today. Sorry. At least I caught it. In 1980, 41.8% of African Americans went to college. 49.9% of whites went to college. 51.8% of females went to college. And 46.7% of males went to college. So see, if you look back on that, where it talks about, the male privilege and stuff, this data actually doesn't show that. That the males were actually only second to African Americans in going to college. And that might be because of more blue-collar jobs are available. But the ones who came out on top every time in every decade were females. Females have the desire to go to college and learn and have their own money, which is important. Okay, well, that's actually the entirety of the class, except for a few little handouts that I used to give when I taught this class out and about in our community. If I can get through all of these other things. Measuring the child's temperaments. And this would be a handout that I would give. And this is also one that, counselors might use in the schools for children. It's a handout you get, and it says circle one answer. Activity level. The proportion of active periods to inactive ones. And then, like I say, here's your choices, and you would circle one. This would be your child, or you if you want to look back on you. Varies. Sometimes active, sometimes not. Low. Mostly inactive. High. Active all of the time. Rhythmicity. Goodness sakes. Rhythmicity. I said it right. See, I'm doubting my own tongue today. Regularity of hunger, excretion, sleep, and wakefulness. And then you would circle one. Varies. Seems different every day. Predictable. You could set a clock by them. Fairly predictable. within an hour either way of the usual time. Distractibility. The degree to which the child is distracted by stimuli. I had a kid with ADD, so, whoo, baby. And your choices are varies, sometimes on task, sometimes gets distracted. On task, a hard worker or player doesn't let anything distract them. Easily distracted, any sight or sound will distract them and they quickly change activities. Approach or withdrawal. The response to a new person or situation. And your choices are positive approach, not scared of strangers, not willing to take risks like going with one though. Withdrawn, shy of all strangers, scared when one talks to them. Outgoing, talks to everyone who would go anywhere and do anything with anyone. And that was always a worry my mama had about my sister Mary Lorene. She said she doesn't know a stranger and she would talk to anybody and probably go anywhere with anybody. You know, thankfully she never did. Adaptability. The ease with which a child adapts to the environment. And your choices are adapts easily, is willing to try anything new, does not get upset with change. Obsessive. Does not like change, gets very upset when schedule is altered. Varies. Sometimes thrown for a loop, sometimes goes with the flow. Attention span or persistence. The time and effort put into a project and not letting themselves get distracted. Your choices are hard worker, concentrates on their project and does not let themselves get distracted. Flighty, seems interested at first, but soon loses interest. Any distraction is followed. Varies. Sometimes hardworking, sometimes doesn't try. Intensity of reactions. The energy of a response, regardless of its quality or direction. Your choices are low, does not seem to be fazed by anything. Varies, sometimes easy, sometimes gets very upset or excited. High, very excitable, throws fits. Threshold of responsiveness. The intensity of stimulation required to get a response. Your choices are low, does not get excited, does not listen to threats of punishment. Varies, sometimes excitable, listens to adults most of the time. High, is very excitable, gets very upset if they are corrected. Quality of mood. Friendly, pleasant, joyful behavior versus unfriendly, unpleasant and sad behavior. And your choices are mostly mean, rude, and sad. Varies according to mood and environment, or always friendly, nice, and happy. And by giving that test, to yourself, you can figure out a little bit more about your mindset. And doing the test on your children, you can kind of get a feel for their mindset. So that's something that I used to hand out to my students when I taught this class. And here's some more outlines. I would always make too many outlines, but I want to make sure I had enough to pass out to my students. So, and then here are 10 tips for parents. What's going on here? Use genuine encounter moments, or they call them in school GEMS, G-E-M-S. Actions speak louder than words. You can't tell your kids, do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work. They're watching. Little eyes are watching you. Give children appropriate ways to feel power. They should be able to pick out what they want to wear, what they want to eat with their reason, of course. They're going to want to eat cake or whatever 24/7. That's not an option. So give them appropriate ways to feel power. Make, decisions on what chores they want to do. And of course they have to pick one. They can't just pick the same one all the time. A good idea is to rotate them. Use natural consequence. Sometimes you don't need to discipline them. Like if they are in there talking and stay up too late, the natural consequence of that is they're going to be tired the next morning. So, you don't always have to punish them, because sometimes their actions are going to punish themselves. Use logical consequences. I mean, most people have some logic in their brain. So, you shouldn't, beat a child if they left a piece of paper on the floor. The logical consequence is, hey, I saw you do that, you pick that up, or you're getting a tally, Withdraw from conflict. Sometimes the kid is upset and they want to get into conflict with you. And that's not going to fix anything. It's going to make them more upset. That's going to make you upset. And sometimes you have to just walk away. I mean, there were times one of my sons would be in there just throwing a bloody fit, and I tried to talk to him and reason with him, but he was clearly just in the mood to fight. So I would say, okay, you know what? When you can talk to me like a sane human being, come find me and we'll talk about this. And I would let him stay in his bed, and he would calm down, and then he would come talk about it. Separate the deed from the doer. And that's a lot of things that parents do, and a lot of people do this. And, I think all our previous generations, did this. My grandma didn't do this. She was, smart cookie for someone who, didn't have a college education. But, it's not right to say, you are bad. You say, that was bad. You shouldn't have done that. Always make it about the action, not the person. Because what you do when you make it about the person, you say, you're this, you're this, you're this, then that lowers their self-esteem. And then they think they're, not worthy of anything. And then they're going to have problems later in life because they don't have any self-esteem. And you're wondering, why can't this kid, because they have no self-esteem. So that's important to do, is always separate the action from the person. The action is the bad thing, the wrong thing, not the kid. You need to teach them. Discipline is about teaching them right from wrong, not teaching them they're a bad person. Be consistent and follow through, because kids are going to test the boundaries. That's what they do. They're immature. That's what they do. So you have to be consistent. And if you say you're going to do something, then you have to follow through. Because if not, what you've taught them is, oh, I don't really have to do that. I'll do whatever I want. And nothing's going to happen about it. So you have to be consistent and follow through. Parent with the end in mind. And the end goal in parenting is raising, in my case, what I wanted, a spiritual, intelligent, loving, decent human being. If everyone went with that goal in mind for the end of childhood, the adult you're going to put out into the world will be a much better place. Be kind and firm at the same time. That's something one of my youngest sons says, Mom can cuss you out without ever having to say a cuss word. So, I don't know if that's a good thing, but, you have to be kind. You have to have compassion for your child. Think about when you were a child, how things felt to you. Their little hearts are so big and they're so easily wounded. You have to be kind, but yet firm at the same time. You can stand your ground and be firm while still being kind and compassionate to them. It just takes time and effort. And that's what a lot of parents complain. They don't have the time, and so they make a lot of mistakes. But it's quality time, not the quantity of time. If you only got 2 hours with that kid, you can still make that 2 hours count. And 10 tips for parents. As parents, we all search for ways to make our job easier. Here are some tips you may find helpful. The self-esteem of children is greatly influenced by the quality of time spent with them. Hey, we just said that. Not the amount. Busy lives cause many parents to think about the next thing that they have to do instead of focusing attention on their children. And that teaches your children that they're not important in your life. If children don't receive gems, remember we said genuine encounter moments, throughout the day, they may misbehave. feeling that negative attention is better than no attention. Statistics reveal children receive over 2,000 compliance requests a day. As a result, many become parent deaf. Instead of nagging or yelling, search for an action. If parents don't, children will find inappropriate ways to feel their power. Ways to help them feel powerful are to ask their advice. Give them choices. And you don't have to follow their advice if it's, Let them help balance the checkbook. And, you can have them do that on a piece of paper, not actually in your checkbook. If you even have a checkbook anymore, that's kind of going the way of the dodo. Help with household tasks. Even if you can do these tasks yourself with less hassle. That's something I had to learn, and still, grapple with, because I was taught there's a right way to do everything and you should do it that way. But then in child psychology, they teach you it doesn't matter how it gets done as long as it gets done. So that's something in my personal life I've had to grapple with, because I like things done the right way that I was taught was the right way. So I had to learn, even if the boys are doing it their way, as long as it gets done, I'll try to let that go. Okay. When parents consistently interfere in situations, they rob children of learning opportunities. Allowing consequences to do the talking, rather than constant nagging or reminding. Often the natural consequences may be too severe or far in the future to be of practical use. When this is the case, logical consequences are effective. It is important for consequences to be logically related to the behavior in order for them to work. If a child forgets to return the overdue video and they are grounded for a week, that punishment only creates resentment. Instead, return it for them and deduct the fee from their allowance, or allow them to work off the money owed. In this manner, the child can see the logical use of discipline. Cause and effect. If a child is throwing a temper tantrum to test the patience of their parents, or speaks disrespectfully, parents should leave the room and tell the child when they want to try again to come talk. Don't leave in anger or defeat. Never tell a child they are bad. Instead, help the child recognize what it was about their behavior that was inappropriate or intolerable. Behaviors may be wrong, but the child still needs to feel loved, no matter what they may do. And this reminds me of a psychologist I knew who said there's no such thing as bad kids, only bad parents. Parents who don't understand child development and psychology, and so they say and do the wrong things, so their child turns into a grown-up, rebellious mess and has no self-esteem. Never tell a child they are bad. I'm going to say it again. Children need to have a consistent message sent to them. It is equally important to follow through. If a child knows they are not to have candy after 8 p.m., no matter how much pouting, tears, pleas, or demands, there should be no candy after 8 p.m. That's what I told my kids, because there was a lot of overbearingness in my family, and, I was told I need to be tougher and be the boss. I said, I don't have to be that tough to be the boss, because I know I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I don't have to prove I'm in charge. I'm in charge. This is what's going to happen. If you don't like it, you're going to get punished. If you do the wrong thing, So that's an insecurity I never had, and that's probably because I took parenting classes. I think everyone should have parenting classes before their baby comes. So I didn't have that problem. I didn't have to prove that I'm the boss. I felt no need to do that because I was the boss. So if you know you're the boss, you don't have to prove you're the boss. Most parents look for the most expedient solution. This often results in children who feel overpowered. It is important to keep in mind the way parents want their children to be as adults and be more thoughtful in the way they parent. Parents often get frustrated when their children do not comply or behave. Frustration can easily lead to anger. As parents, it is very important to remain as calm as possible. Being firm doesn't require the use of yelling. And I'll go even a step further than they did on this. Spanking. I do not believe in it. I think it's inappropriate punishment for most offenses. Now, I actually had a psychiatrist tell me, because I had a son who was hurting other people. And he said, in that case, if your child hurts someone else, then it's okay to give them a little spank on the butt to show them what this other person feels like, that they hurt them. But that's the only child I had to use this on, and his psychiatrist, like I said, recommended that. But, I mean, to beat a child for a small offense that they could be grounded for, they could be put to bed for, allowance taken away for, that's just bad parenting. That is your anger out of control, so you feel the need to prove you're the boss of this child when you should already know that you are. So that says more about you as a parent than it says about your child. Yeah. So anyway, that is the end of this series. So I hope you enjoyed this class. And you got something out of it. If you did watch this class and enjoy this class, I hope you, like the video. I hope you choose to, donate to help me keep doing these classes, because I can't do them out in the community anymore. That's it, and I hope you look forward to the next class. Thanks. Bye.